learning outcomes. This module will develop an understanding of the following topics. Multinational enterprises, their definition and features. What are the various types of MNEs? MNEs in the global economy. What are the arguments in favor and against MNEs? And topmost MNEs in India. Introduction. Multinational corporations have played an important role in globalizing trade. The parent company is a firm of a large scale that controls production of goods and or services in countries other than the home company. MNCs operate in a variety of forms such as franchising, branches, etc. to ensure the parent company can choose the path it prefers. There are both pros and cons to such a form of institution, yet in today's economy, MNC is a need of the hour for any firm expanding in size to establish itself. Multinational enterprises. Definition. There are various definitions of multinational enterprises. Broadly, a multinational enterprise or a multinational corporation refers to a giant firm that owns the production of goods or services in many countries other than their home country. An MNC is a parent company that engages in foreign production through its affiliates located in several countries, exercises direct control over the policies of its affiliates and implements business strategies in production, marketing and finance that transcend national boundaries. Example of some large MNCs are Ford, IBM, Nokia, McDonald's, etc. An important condition to be an MNC lies in the fact that its managerial headquarters are located in one country, normally the home country, while the enterprise carries out operations in a number of other countries called the host countries. It implies that the firms participating in foreign trade or international economic relations either by exporting or by licensing technology are not regarded as MNCs. An important requirement to be an MNC is that the firm must carry on production activity by its actual investment in several countries. MNCs are large organizations which extend their industrial and marketing operations through a network of their branches or their majority owned foreign affiliates called MOFAs. MNCs are also known as transnational corporations, that is the TNCs. Instead of aiming at profit maximization from one or two products, the MNCs operate in a number of fields and thus their business strategy extends over a number of products and over a number of countries. Features and objectives of MNCs. The main features of MNCs are as follows. 1. MNCs have their head offices in home countries while they conduct their business operations in a number of host countries. 2. A large part of the assets of the parent company are owned by the home company citizens. 3. The majority of their governing body members are citizens of the home country. 4th, the parent company is responsible for making decisions on new investment as well as the local objectives. 5. MNCs are giant firms and exercise a great degree of economic dominance. 6. MNCs control production activity with large foreign direct investment in many developed and developing countries. And lastly, MNCs are oligopolistic in character and are sustained by modern technologies, product differentiation, management skill, and advertising. The two main factors that lead to the formation of MNCs are the uneven distribution of factor endowments and market failures, according to Dunning in 1988. Due to their national origins, some firms have assets that are superior to those in many other countries. Moreover, a substantial proportion of these firms think that they can only successfully exploit these assets by transferring them across national boundaries within their own organizations rather than by selling their rights of use to foreign-based enterprises. This combination of unequally distributed factor endowments combined with difficulties in using market-based arrangements has yielded more than 60,000 MNCs with over 800,000 affiliates abroad. Besides this, MNCs enjoy a number of marketing, financial and technological superiority over the national firms. They also have R&D departments which are engaged in the task of innovation and development of new products and upgrading of existing products with superior designs. Thus, their production opportunities are far more greater as compared to national companies. The prime objectives of MNCs are: 1. To expand the business beyond the boundaries of the home country. 2. Minimize cost of production, especially labor cost. 3. Capture foreign market against international competition. 4. Attain competitive advantage internationally. 5. MNCs aim to achieve greater efficiency by producing in local market and then exporting the product. 6. Exploit technological advantage by setting up production facilities abroad. And lastly, establish a repute of an international corporate. Types of multinational enterprises. Multinational enterprises operate in the following types. A. Franchising. As a franchisee, multinational enterprise grants firms in foreign countries the right to use its trademarks, brand names, patents, etc. Following the terms and conditions of franchise agreement, the firms get the license or rights to operate their business. They pay royalty or license fee to multinational enterprises. Holiday Inn and McDonald's, with its 29,000 restaurants in 121 countries, are two notable examples. B. Branches. Multinational enterprises open branches in different countries. These branches are governed under the direction and control of the head office. The headquarters frame policies, rules and regulations which are followed by the branches. In this way, multinational enterprises operate through branches. C. Through subsidiaries. A multinational enterprise may establish wholly owned subsidiaries in foreign countries. As against this, in case of partly owned subsidiaries, people in the host countries also own shares. The policies framed by the parent company are followed by the subsidiaries in foreign countries. Fully owned subsidiaries can be divided into mergers and acquisitions on the one hand and startups on the other. It is difficult to distinguish between mergers and acquisitions, but generally, mergers are a result of arrangements between companies of equal sizes, whereas acquisitions are unequal partnerships. As an entry strategy, startups carries the highest risk and requires a lot of time to set up and greatest contribution of know-how. For example, since Nokia began to develop mobile phones, it has expanded mainly through startups between ABB operating in established technology sectors has grown mainly through acquisitions. Fourthly, through joint ventures. A joint venture as a form consists of MNC and a local partner, while the multinational provides technology and managerial skill. The day-to-day management is left as a responsibility of the local partner. For example, in Maruti Udyog, the Government of India and Suzuki, Japanese firm, have jointly supplied capital. Suzuki supplies technology and the day-to-day management is carried out by Maruti Udyog. MNEs in India. The first MNC in India was the East India Company in 1600. However, after liberalization reforms in 1991, American companies accounted for more than 35% of the turnover of the top 20 firms operating in India. Oil companies and infrastructure builders from the Middle East are also flocking into India to capture the booming market. In addition, European Union companies are increasingly flocking in India. Example, Finnish mobile handset manufacturing giant Nokia is identified as one of the largest MNCs in India. Also, South Korean giant in electronics, namely Samsung and LG, as well as Hyundai Motors, are engaged in business using India as a hub for global delivery. Indian companies in Fortune Global 500 list of 2014. Let's look at the rank and the company. Tata Steel has a rank of 401, ONGC has a rank of 357, Tata Motors 314, State Bank of India 285, Hindustan Petroleum 267, Bharat Petroleum 225, Reliance Industries 99 and Indian Oil has a rank of 83. Arrangements in favor and against MNEs. The most basic argument in India in favor of MNCs is the need for investment. Domestic savings are often inadequate to support the amount of investment that is required for the development in India. During the economic crisis of 1991, the center and the state government were forced to cut back their spending. Thus, there occurred a shortage of investment, and this led to reliance on the private sector and foreign investors to take care of investment. In this way, MNCs are seen as filling up the gap in savings by bringing savings from abroad so that domestic investment can be larger than domestic saving. The second main argument for MNCs is concerned with the technology transfer. Economic growth in developing countries is mainly dependent on new technologies, and most least developing countries are in danger of falling even further behind unless they have access to some new technology and learn how to apply. LDCs, that is the least developed countries, can get new technology from foreign direct investment. In fact, MNCs have been prominent in the development and dissemination of new technologies in both the nature of products and methods of production. Although with new technology, MNCs bring the skills which LDCs learn to duplicate, such as managerial ability, organizational competence, and the ability to avoid inefficiencies. However, the ability of LDC to absorb new technology depends considerably on the education level and skills of the labor force and the existence of institutions capable of providing the necessary training. India's labor force is the most highly trained and skilled of all LDCs, and therefore India is able to effectively absorb new technologies and benefit from FDI in this way. MNCs have a number of advantages over local companies. They have the ability to achieve vast economies of scale in manufacturing and product development due to their size advantage. Due to their global presence, they are exposed to new ideas and opportunities regardless of where they occur. Moreover, their location in many countries can be used as a bargaining power in obtaining favorable conditions from governments anxious to preserve inward investments and jobs. However, with all the advantages size confers, they are not free from limitations. They also have potential liabilities of slowness and bureaucracy. The argument against the operation of MNCs are as follows. 1. Payment of dividends and royalty. A large sum of money flows out of the country in terms of payment of dividend, profits, royalties, technical fees and interests to the foreign investors. 2. Distortion of economic structure. MNCs can inversely impact the host country in various forms, such as curbing of domestic entrepreneurship, extending oligopolistic practices such as product differentiation, heavy advertising, etc. 3. Political interference. Because of their immense financial and technical power, MNCs have gained strength to influence the decision-making processes in underdeveloped countries. Though MNCs transfer technology to UDCs, but it is not in harmony with the interests of the host countries. The government of UDCs have also felt threatened by the direct and indirect interference of MNCs in their internal affairs. Due to this, governments of various UDCs have sought to control the activities of MNCs through various controls and legal provisions. 4. Technology transfer, not necessarily conducive to development. The behavior pattern of MNCs revealed that they do not engage in R&D activities within the underdeveloped countries. Their R&D efforts are concentrated in laboratories in the home country or in other industrialized countries. In many cases, the technology transferred is of a capital intensive nature, which is not useful from the point of view of a labor surplus economy. MNCs are not necessarily successful. It is seen that many MNCs are not efficient at managing their foreign activities, particularly in regard to acquisitions. Furthermore, the gap between the best and worst performing companies is growing. In case of India, it is seen that the government permitted multiple collaborations, that is repetitive import of the same or similar technology. This resulted in repetitive payments without adding to the stock of technical knowledge in the country. Moreover, the terms and conditions of agreements are mostly in favor of foreign collaborators and were against Indian interests. An MNC often has to compete with domestic companies that have many natural advantages. These domestic companies have a customer base they have cultivated which is familiar with their brands. This loyalty to a local player has to be overcome in such a way that it does not invoke a nationalistic reaction. Thus, besides many advantages that MNCs confer, which should take an initiative to analyze the cost and benefit analysis before entering into an investment. Let us summarize. Multinational corporations refer to a giant firm that owns production of goods or services in one or more countries other than their home countries. MNCs are predominantly large size and exercise a great degree of economic dominance. MNCs control production activity with large foreign direct investment in more than one developed and developing countries. The formation of MNCs has been attributed to a combination of two main factors: the uneven distribution of factor endowments and market failure. The East India Company is generally thought to be the first modern multinational corporation in India in 1600. The main objectives of MNCs are to expand business beyond the boundaries of the home country, minimize cost of production, capture lucrative foreign markets. It also achieves greater efficiency by producing in local market and then exporting the product and establishing an international corporate image. MNCs basically operate in four forms: franchising, branches, subsidiaries and joint ventures. As a franchisee, multinational enterprise grant firms in foreign countries the right to use its trademark, brand names, patents, etc. Multinational enterprises open branches in different countries. These branches are governed under the direction and control of the head office. As a wholly owned subsidiary, an MNC can emerge either as a merger and acquisitions or as a startup firm. It may establish either as a wholly owned or a partially owned subsidiary in foreign countries. Estimates suggest that trade within MNCs, called intra-firm trade, accounts for about 1/3 of total world trade. MNCs engage in cross-border investments to gain secure access to supplies of natural resources. MNCs invest across borders to gain access to foreign markets. MNCs make cross-border investments to improve the efficiencies of their operations by rationalizing production and trying to exploit economies of specialization and scope. Besides conferring many advantages, MNCs are not free from limitations. The arguments against MNCs include distortion of economic structure, a large sum of money flows out of the country, and greater political interference and technology transfer not conducive to development. In case of India, it is seen that the government permitted multiple collaborations that is repetitive import of the same or similar technology. This resulted in repetitive payments without adding to the stock of technical knowledge in the country. Moreover, the terms of agreement were mostly weighed in favor of the foreign collaborators and were against Indian interest. Proper impact assessment should be conducted before allowing an MNC to enter the home country.